Economic Development Update, and I'd like to invite Jessica Del Vecchio, our Economic Development Manager, to share with us the good news.
Thank you. That was a lot longer meeting than I was expecting. Sorry. For the record, my name is Jessica Del Vecchio, and I'm the Economic Development Manager for the City of Boca Raton. I started in the position in mid-April of last year, and mid-August I came in and presented our business plan. So I wanted to come in and give a brief update of what we've been up to lately. Some of our financial incentive projects we've worked on since mid-April, Avid Technology, we moved them in from, actually their corporate headquarters is in Massachusetts. We moved their regional headquarters here. They've committed to 100 new jobs for our city. Ipaka International is a consumer goods company that will have 23 jobs already here, and they've committed to 17 new addition. They actually just moved into the new space. And KRS Biotechnology is a life science company. They have 57 employees and will hire 160 new. And Yataka was an international relocation from Germany. They are a yacht charter company, and they will create 50 new jobs for our city. So all in all, 407 new jobs will be retained or created since mid-April. Oh, excuse me. In our pipeline, we have two projects. Project P2P will create 838 new jobs, and Project Orchid. Project Orchid is in the very beginning vetting stages. Both these projects are under the state statute, Florida state statute, and this allows them to be anonymous, confidential, while we're in the vetting process. The four projects before that were also confidential. I want to make it clear that they're confidential to the outside, not to us. We know who they are, we see their financials, we vet the company along with the state and the county. So since 2010, when we started the economic development incentive programs, we've committed $4 million to 41 companies, creating or retaining 8,400 jobs. I wanted to show this slide. This is a slide, very visual, of the companies that we've helped along the way. If you notice, between ADT and MDVIP is Yatako's, that's their logo. And Yatako, the German company I mentioned, they've been really making waves. They've been featured in the New York Times, the Seattle Times, and last month they were in Florida Trend magazine. So really keep an eye on them. They're really doing amazing things. They're actually headquartered in the Research Park at FAU. People always want to know, how many corporate headquarters do we have here in Boca? The BDV provided this to me when I first started. They've identified 62 headquarters in the county, and of that, half of them are here in Boca Raton. But as you could see on the slide before, there are 6 other companies that we've identified. So there are more than the 31, but I'm sure the other county members have more as well. But this is where we get that number when people ask. We offer non-financial incentives. We have the meeting with the building official, expedited permitting, groundbreakings, ribbon cuttings. And a lot of times these complimentary services somewhat get lost in the shuffle because the news likes to pick up the new jobs and the new projects. So I wanted to take a moment and give some background on some of the non-financial projects that we've worked on. Geo Group, we've met with their leadership, and they bought the lot over by LA Fitness for $10 million. They'll be creating their headquarters there over the next 3 to 4 years. Orange Theory Fitness, we moved them in. They will be gutting the building. They bought the building, 77,000 square feet, for $15 million. They'll be moving in, gutting that, and we're already in the process through permitting with them, and Neha James has been really helpful with this company. Cosmetic Solutions, they are a manufacturing private label cosmetic firm, also in the park at Broken Sound. They moved here in '91. They bought a 5-acre lot, and they had 25,000 square feet. They do their manufacturing on site, and they did a groundbreaking, I'd say about 6 months ago, and we worked with their PR team and got them a lot of coverage on South Florida Business Journal, Palm Beach Post, and the Sun Sentinel picked that up. Cross Country Healthcare, this was our first ribbon cutting and last so far. We've done one so far. 100,000 square feet of space they have in the park at Broken Sound. And we knew they're publicly traded, they rang the bell at the NASDAQ. And I was looking on the Yahoo Finance to see that announcement, and lo and behold, our groundbreaking and ribbon cutting with the mayor, our scissors, the council, the CEO was on Yahoo Finance. So very good exposure for our city on a national level. Another one of our efforts, we actually have really developed a great relationship with the governor and his team. He comes here a lot to make announcements, and I think the one that's the best is the millionth job created in the state of Florida. Florida is a big state, and he picked Boca Raton to make that announcement, and that got a lot of coverage. WPTV, all the news outlets were here, and very good coverage, like I said, for our city. This is the first meeting that I set up with the governor's team for Cogent. This was an expansion of about 125 new jobs into our city, not receiving financial incentives, but a great company altogether. They recently went public, rang the bell. Cross Country rang the bell about a month or two later for their 15th anniversary, and Census Healthcare just went public, and part of their IPO was to ring the bell at the NASDAQ. So we have a really great group of companies here that aren't even on that headquarter list, so we're identifying a lot more companies here. These are our partners. You can see a lot of it's like hyper-local, very localized. Boca Raton mostly are where we spend most of our time. FAU Tech Runway and the Research Park have been great partners. The Research Park, especially from day one, Andrew and his team have welcomed me and introduced me to the companies there. To the left of that, you'll see Boca Raton Innovation Campus. This is the old IBM campus, 1,700,000 square feet of space, and they're doing amazing things over there. We work very closely with that team, meeting with the CEOs that are coming in. Over the last 2 years, 19 companies have moved into there and leased over 800,000 square feet of space. I mean, that's a huge number when you think about it, 800,000 square feet of Class A space. We've also made established relationships with the news and media outlets. There's actually 2 pages of this because we've been reaching out to so many people. The companies come to us, they have an accolade, they have an accomplishment, they have something approved by the FDA. They want to get it in the local paper or on TV, so they tell us who they want to meet, and we put them in touch with that entity. Very good exposure for our city. Actually, Boca Magazine, we met with them, and they'll be adding a business section starting, I believe, next month. Part of our other collaborations, when I came on board, we realized that Boca Raton was lumped in with the county. So we had West Palm, Boca Raton, and here we are. We pulled our demographical data and worked with these 2 analytical companies. And you can see 2,000 cities have been reviewed. We are, this is this year, one of the top 100 places to live, coming in at 59. And for the small cities in America, there were 82 in Florida, and we ranked number 3. So great accolades for our city that we didn't have before. Since coming on board, I attended the Site Selectors Guild, the FEDC conference, and we've had one-on-one meetings with 16 top producing site selectors. This one-on-one meeting, this was Power Hour, 2 days, back-to-back meetings, 16 of these site selectors handling major corporate relocations into the area. That was definitely the most productive time we spent so far. I continuously meet and present with companies here. In addition to that, we had the Realtors Commercial Alliance Signatures annual meeting. They had 400 people there. It's not as in-depth as this, but we tell them we're here to help. What can we do to work together? Boca Airport, we went to their annual luncheon. They had 1 tenant luncheon so far, 125, 150 people. They allowed us to speak. A lot of, that's definitely an economic driver for our city. Boca Raton Bowl is coming up next week. The Allianz is coming up in February. We sponsor these events. You can see third party, $10 million economic impact for each of these events. So not only do we get global exposure, we're getting a lot of money into the region. I'm not one who likes to be out and get my photo taken and on the front lines, but we realized, in fact, when the governor comes to town, he offers me a spot at the podium, which I will take when the time comes. But for now, I give that space to an executive, let them tell their story, how they fit in, like I gave it to Andrew Duffel when he came to the research park. But we identified these 4 outlets as local people that can help us spread our word of what we're doing with the corporate community. So these have been very valuable to us. About 4 months ago, we started to work on our marketing efforts, and we partnered with Downtown Boca. This was our first attempt at this, and who better to partner with than downtown? We have a vibrant downtown, a thriving corporate community, and we really wanted to highlight that. So on the left, you'll see This is an annual publication, why call Boca Raton home. We highlight all the aspects of our city. And on the right is I think it was this month. Yeah, this month we were highlighted in Florida Trend magazine. So that's very, again, good exposure for us. Meisner's Dream. For a lot of people, this is actually the publication, the annual directory publication to the members of the Boca Raton Resort and Club. We're going to capture the audience here. We came up with this with our communications department, this ad. But what we're going for with this is, sure, it goes to their members. A lot of members don't live in Boca Raton, but it's left in their conference rooms, it's in their lobby, it's at the beach club, and most importantly, it's left in the rooms. I used to conference a lot in my old role, and there's that window where the conference ends at about 5 o'clock. You come back to your room, you call your spouse, you check your emails, and then you go back downstairs. So I know I flip through these magazines a lot. So what we're trying to capture, you can see it's kind of a bold ask. It's a different approach. Considering a corporate relocation or expansion, Boca Raton should be at the top of your list. Why just come for these conferences? You know you love it here, that kind of selling aspect. And we just submitted this, I'd say 2 weeks ago. And that'll run for the year in that magazine. Very good publication. Boca Raton Airport. So we've been partnering with the airport from day one. I've been over there with Clara Bennett and her team. She gets it, the partnership. She understands that we work so well together. When Customs was coming in and they were breaking ground on that, she and I immediately met and decided we really need to capture this. Our thriving corporate community, the Customs facility, conducting international business has never been easier. So this is very beginning stages. Your passport to success is Boca Raton. We don't really have the content inside yet. We're working on that. We have a lot of assets to highlight in our city. It's a good problem to have, but to keep it, you don't want to add an encyclopedia and give it to someone. So this will also come into a flip book, which we'll be able to, when I present to people, we'll email it to them. Thanks for having us, the City of Boca. We will use this with the executives. We know a lot of executives that fly in and use that airport, and now they can do their business. We also know of a couple of people that come to conference through that airport we'll target. And FBOs are there. So when people get off the jets, they go in, foot traffic, we'll have these there so they can see that we're open for business. Most importantly, we'll leave these at the custom facility. I read somewhere, I think it was the feasibility study, that 750 aircraft that come through that airport annually are international. So you put 5 people on that jet. It's a lot of people, a lot of eyes that are coming in, whether it be pleasure or business. We want to capture that audience. Actually, I'm going to come back to this slide. I know I think someone already left, but there was some concern or question about our international economic development efforts. And we understand it's a very big market, and we understand it's a very important part of our overall goal. Right now, we're starting smaller. Mentioned earlier the Yatica, we moved that in from Germany. And there are complexities when you move an international company. It's not as simple as when we moved the Massachusetts expansion. They speak the language. There is no visa. I mean, these complexities are not something we can't tackle. We can certainly tackle them. But with the time and resources right now, we really need to go after the low-hanging fruit, if you will. But I just wanted to make a mention that it's very important that we are well-versed in these nuances with international relocation so that we truly help them move in. Because it looks like on the slide, we move these companies, they're creating 100 jobs, but that's really where our work all comes into play, and a lot of people don't see the behind the scenes. So I just wanted to make a mention of that because I know that's been asked of us. Digital tools. CoStar. CoStar is the largest commercial real estate analytical firm in the country. And they've added LoopLink as part of their service. LoopLink is kind of the Zillow. If you've ever looked for a home on Zillow, you zoom over the pictures, you have a virtual tour, you can see what neighborhood it's in, the HOA fees, the schools it's near. This is very similar. The available properties is on the right tab of our website. And we put this on our website in mid-May. And it's really as much data as you want or as little. You can dive as deep or as not deep as you want. It's free for people to use. We have the demographical data, education, workforce, distance from 95, and it's all Boca Raton. So no one's going to fly over a property and wind up in another city. Very valuable tool. We did one. We haven't done our press release yet. There were a few little, when you integrate with IT, there's a few bumps, and we got rid of that. And most importantly, we haven't done any PR yet because we're waiting for our new website. We want to make it very accessible, less clunky, so we're waiting. But we made one Facebook post about it, and whenever I go out and meet with these site selectors and commercial real estate professionals, I tell them about it, obviously. They all know CoStar. But since mid-May, I pulled it up last week, we've had 6,500 property searches through our portal. And that's with no fanfare, no announcements, so we knew going in this was going to be very valuable. We want to make corporate relocations as simple as possible for people, and this is really a useful tool. They don't have to log in, we don't know who they are. At this point, it doesn't really matter. We're going to be approachable, and when the time comes, they will certainly come to us to show them that space, which has already been happening. Facebook. October 2015, we implemented Facebook and Twitter, and Facebook has been such a valuable tool. It's where we share our information, what we're doing. When we do an introduction to a newspaper and they get highlighted in a local newspaper, we share it there. People they're truly engaged and love rooting for our corporate community. So Facebook has been, I think, more valuable than I thought it would be, so that's very useful. Our economic development report. We partnered with the Boca newspaper about 3 months ago, and this newspaper goes to 12,000 homes in Boca Raton and businesses, and 12,000 in print in Delray Beach, as well as an online presence. And this is our third column with them, and a lot of people have been calling on it. I was a little bit surprised when it was a small paper. It's very localized. But I asked, I know where people are calling from because there was a time when my phone wasn't ringing. So now it's ringing a lot. And I asked, where do they see my name, or where do they see our name, and where is Boca Raton? How did it get on their radar? And lately it's either the column or Facebook. So again, very valuable tools. Again, this is not something, we're not scooping any stories. You won't read anything. We're not making any announcements. We do the introduction to the real reporters. I'm not a real reporter or a columnist. But what we then do is highlight it and put it in the paper, kind of as another outlet to get the word out when someone's getting their nails done. They can read it. They're at cafes and they're at fresh markets. So again, really just another outlet for us to use to get the word out. That's really what we're doing here. Our outlook. We've worked with the Chamber. We've had some discussions on taking their board of directors on a tour of our city, the economic development aspect of it. I know most of the board members, I work with them, but I think it's great to be captive, on a bus for an hour or two and show them really what we're doing, feed them, of course, but they're ambassadors to our city. They go back to their companies and they talk, wow, Del Vecchio, City of Boca, they're doing amazing things. Did you know residential is going in and Planned Mobility over by corporate headquarters for Orange Theory Fitness? So very important to have those ambassadors, use them as a resource. They want to be informed and we want them informed. We're going to have a city showcase magazine. This is going to another big undertaking. Again, think of all the assets we have in the city, from world-class healthcare, great education system, the private airport, beautiful city, vibrant downtown. We're trying to capture that into a magazine, like a glossy magazine. Again, we'll have a PDF flipbook with it, and we'll use it when we start branching out of state and showing them why Boca Raton. A big undertaking, well worthwhile. Online business tax licensing. We're working with IT. We're not on the front line of this. This is all behind the scenes. IT is writing codes and all this stuff with our business tax department. Pretty impressive to see the spreadsheet they have put together to do these types of rollouts. But we have 12,000 renewal licenses a year. It's a lot of people coming in, writing checks, putting stamps on. We're trying to make it more efficient for the business owner and ourselves. And how we, economic development, got involved is we want to be on the front end. Okay, so we know you're coming in, you're renewing your license. How many employees do you have? We're going to make it super simple. Drop-down menu, 0 to 25, 25 to 50. We're not trying to drive anyone crazy. We're just trying to capture more data so we can analyze it. What industry are you in? Super simple. Restaurant, corporate headquarters. We don't need a NAICS code because that gets very confusing for people, myself included. Again, make it super simple. How long have they been in business? And then we want to have a letter that comes out of the Office of Economic Development pretty much saying, we know you can do business anywhere. We're so glad you're doing it here. What can we do to help? And then lastly, we're racing the clock on this one, but we're looking to do a FAM tour. We can have as much material as we want, marketing and showing people our city, but they really have to be here. They have to feel it. They have to be downtown. So we're building this, hopefully, knock wood, around the Allianz. That hip, sophisticated party the night before, we'll have them come to that, see the vibrancy of that country club. We'll take them around a tour of our city. We'll have a CEO forum where there's experts there are some struggles I'm sure other companies have had, and there's an open forum to discuss. We've already had some discussions with our CEOs, everyone from startups to major corporations. Everyone wants to be part of it. It's just a matter of getting it off the ground in the timely fashion by beginning of February for the Allianz. And I think that's it in a nutshell.
Well, thank you.
I know you guys had a long day, but I'm
Thank you,
welcome to
Jessica.
take
That's
questions.
amazing. That's
Thank you.
absolutely amazing. Any comments, Mr. Weinroth?
Thank you, Jessica. That was terrific.
Sure.
You alluded to the comment that several of us received about us reaching out to the consulates, and again, not necessarily bringing people to the city, but at least establishing relationships with all those consulates. Can you talk a little bit more about that? What have you been able to do so far?
So far, we haven't done much. I just saw that email when it came out. But building relationships is clearly what we're doing. So I think it's just a bigger net, if you will. So we're more than happy to do that. I'm more than happy to do that. I do know, and I didn't go into, I don't know how, we only had a certain amount of time to devote, but I do know we've had some delegates from Vietnam that I organized to work with Andrew and his team. They wanted to see our innovation. They wanted to see our economic development efforts. There were 20 of them with their translators. So we have done, I've met with a company looking to relocate from Brazil, some concerns with Portuguese, his children, his CEO, his CFO have young children in schools. Are they ready? Or is it the perfect time? So we have dipped our toe in the international aspect. But as far as the delegates, I think that's easy enough for us to do, and I'm more than happy to do that.
And again, I realize you're only one person, and certainly you can't be everywhere. But again, if we can at least reach out to them and give them some sort of a kit of what your tools are, so that, you know, again, they understand when people show up on their doorstep, how do we open a business in the United States? We want them to say, oh, Ms. Del Vecchio is the one that you want to call because she'll give you the information.
I think it's smart, absolutely.
Thank
we'll
you
get
so
on it.
much.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Any other comments or questions for Jessica at this time? Oh, yes. Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, so absolutely. From all of us, thank you tremendously. Huge kudos. Love the energy, love the work you're doing. Really,
Thank you.
really good stuff. Wanted to give some specific input and feedback. The magazine in the resort, I think that's great.
Yeah.
I'm someone who travels a lot for my day job, and sure enough, whether it's between going back down to meet your coworkers or at the end of the day, you're just flipping through stuff and see it. I'd say, Hyatt, Mandarin, let's see if we get in there when they come
Right.
as well. Probably already planned. On the Boca newspaper article, if we can maybe stipulate no Delray advertising on our page.
Well, I hear you, but
I would at least give them a nasty look or dirty gram on that, because the article looked great, but I wasn't sure about the advertising content that was on there.
Were they advertising sober homes? Is that-
It was a Delray business thing,
Oh.
but those are popular in Delray, so they might have been shared. The airport, I'd really like to see, if I could say two areas, so the retention, the new jobs, that's outstanding. The fact that the state and county match us what really looks like 3-to-1 on the money we're putting in. I mean, we're getting a huge return on that, so I really like it. I think if we could focus on the airport, getting all those high-value executives, business people that come through there, getting that pamphlet in their hand, maybe even a business lounge or just area sponsored by the city of Boca. Do your business while you're here, bring your business when you leave. I'd like to see that and a little bit more of a focus, or maybe the next area of growth. I think we're talking corporate retention and growth. Startups. What can we do more to focus on companies that can start up in this city? We have our tech runway. We have the FAU Research Park. But specifically, if someone comes to our website or comes to you, and I don't have an answer, so just something to think about going forward. How do we help them start up in a day, something I heard of? A lot of these people who are great tech minds and have these great ideas, a lot of times their brains don't work so on the business and logistics of, okay, I have this great idea, I could solve, it's going to be huge, but they don't know anything about starting up a business. So maybe think about how we can start capturing that. And with a great research STEM program in FAU and locally, sometimes they need some help. I really love your idea. You talked about going to conferences and sharing ideas, but bringing some of these businesses to us and focus around the Allianz, I think that's a great idea. So overall, thank you and really good work.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Okay. Mr. Singer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, thank you for the presentation. When I joined the council, I was supportive of the concept of economic development staff. To have an economic development staff person in-house, I'm glad we have one. I'm glad we have you, and I'm glad we're doing a lot of great things that we couldn't do if we were relying solely on others. A couple questions. First, on the online business tax receipts. Do you have any sense of, I know IT's working on it, it's a very cumbersome task. Do you have any sense of when we'll be there?
I think what we're looking to do, I guess all of the licenses, and I can clarify this when I go back to my office, but I think they're going to roll out the submissions, the new business first, over the next 6 months. And then, before, assuming that goes well, before the August-September timeline, they will roll out the renewals.
Excellent.
But there's 4 phases that they're working on. Again, I was in the meeting, but code is kind of lost on me, but I know the process. I can see what they're looking to do. You can see that they're working on it diligently, lots of questions, but it's going to take some time, and I think it's more important to do it right than to do it quick. So I don't really have an exact. That's a moving target, but
Well,
I can get you as we go. I can update you.
To be able to do it before the next fiscal year when all the licenses come due on
Would be
October
great.
1 would be great.
That's
So-
ideal.
Well, that is ideal. And in fact, I had a forum this morning with some small business owners, almost a couple dozen. And the issue of business tax receipt came up a lot, and it's come up in me and my, with other people I dealt with too. So I'm glad to hear where you're doing that.
Yes.
The state is not we're a very efficient state, but that's one system where we're not, and that's there's good reason. There's zoning tied up in that. So I know
Right.
staff's working at that.
I should also mention that's tied to the county too. So a lot of those timelines, we may have one timeline and they may have another, and we have to play nice.
Indeed, and thank you for doing so. On the issue of realty, I'm glad, you
Yes.
and I have talked about CoStar,
Yes.
LoopNet, and LoopLink. Can you give a sense to how we're doing and what we as a council need to help you do more to make better inroads to the commercial real estate brokers here, a lot of whom know when big leases are coming up, not just in our city
sure.
to retain who we got, but other cities to see where there are vacancies where they may be trying to poach.
Well, I know we've established some major relationships with big players here and on the outskirts of Boca Raton. Anything, when you ask how you can help, I think anytime you meet someone that you think that we should be in front of, let me know. There's a process with that, but I would certainly love to know if there's somebody or some company or something you hear, just communicate with us, and I will be more than happy to reach out. I know those CoStar numbers, I look at them myself when things are coming up, and no one's going to put in the actual due date because we're all going to call that person, but I do call that person because you never know.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jessica.